Good morning, everyone. Virgo, you asked for it. Not recklessly, not impulsively. Um, After a long time of watching and waiting and hoping the truth would volunteer itself without you having to go looking for it. After realizing it wasn't going to, that the ambiguity wasn't going to resolve on its own, that the in between wasn't going to naturally become something clearer. That if you wanted to know, you were going to have to want it out loud. And now it's coming. The conversation you asked for is assembling itself. And somewhere between the asking and the receiving, um, something in you has gotten slightly less certain that you want what you asked for. That's normal. That's actually very human. And we need to talk about it directly, honestly, without softening it into something more comfortable um, before the conversation arrives. Here's the thing about wanting truth: when we want it, when we're in the thick of the not knowing, running the uncertainty on a loop, exhausted by the ambiguity, truth feels like relief, like the thing that will finally let us exhale, like the answer to the question that's been keeping us up. Um, just tell me, whatever it is, just tell me and I can handle it. But truth has a quality that wanting it doesn't always account for. It's permanent. Once you know something, once it's been said out loud in a real conversation by a real person who actually means it, you cannot unknow it. Um, cannot return to the comfortable ambiguity of not quite knowing for certain, cannot keep the door open that truth closes, or close the door that truth flings open, cannot go back to the before. And that permanence, which felt like exactly what you needed when you were asking for it, can feel, as the conversation approaches, like something slightly more frightening than relief. So let's be real about what you might actually be about to hear, not to predict it, um, but to prepare for both versions, because truth in conversations like this one tends to fall into one of two categories. And knowing how to receive either one without losing yourself in either direction, um, is what preparation actually means. The first version of truth, the one that confirms what part of you has been hoping was there, the yes, the I feel it too, the this matters to me more than I've been showing, um, the version where the conversation opens something rather than closes it, where the truth turns out to be the beginning of something rather than the end. This version sounds like relief, but requires something specific from you. It requires that you actually receive it, um, not deflect it, not immediately start auditing whether it's real, not respond with, yeah, but, and then list every reason you're not sure you believe them. Actually receive it. Let the yes land before you do anything with it. Because a yes that doesn't get received, uh, that gets immediately questioned or minimized or subjected to 17 rounds of verification, communicate something to the person who said it. It communicates that their truth wasn't safe to offer. And people who don't feel safe being truthful stop being truthful. Uh, so if the truth is a yes, let it be a yes, cleanly, without immediately complicating it. The complicating can come later when you're thinking clearly. Um, in the moment, just receive it. The second version of truth, and this one requires more preparation, is the one that doesn't confirm what you hoped. The no. The I care about you, but not in that way. The I've been unclear and I'm sorry, but here's where I actually stand. The version where the truth closes something that part of you wanted to stay open. And here is what needs to be said about that version, um, clearly, directly, without softening it. It is survivable, um, completely, fully, without lasting damage. Despite what the anticipation of it might feel like right now, um, despite how large it looms in the imagination of someone who hasn't heard it yet, it is survivable. And not just survivable, useful. Um, because a clear no, however painful in the moment, does something for you that the ambiguity never could. It frees you from the in between, from the half hope that was keeping you slightly suspended above your own life, um, from the mental energy that was allocated to a question mark that finally has a period. A clear no, as much as it hurts, um, is actually a form of respect from someone who could have kept you suspended indefinitely but chose instead to be honest, to give you the information you asked for, even though it wasn't the information you hoped for. That's not nothing. Um, that's actually something worth receiving gracefully, even when graceful is the harder response. This reflection invites you to consider which version of truth are you more afraid of? The no for the obvious reasons, um, or the yes because yes comes with its own kind of exposure, its own kind of vulnerability, its own requirement to now actually show up for something you've been wanting from a safe distance. Um, because sometimes, and this is worth sitting with honestly, the yes is the scarier answer because no lets you stay exactly where you are. Um, and yes requires you to actually move. Now let's talk about the conversation itself, the mechanics of it, because knowing how to be in it, uh, not just what to say, but how to hold yourself while it's happening, is what determines whether you come out of it with your dignity and your clarity intact, regardless of which direction it goes. Listen first, um, completely, um, before you respond, before you redirect, before you jump in with your own version of events or your own feelings or your own carefully prepared points. Let them say the full thing, even when what they're saying triggers something in you, even when part of you wants to interrupt to correct or clarify or defend. Um, let them finish. Um, because people who feel heard, who feel like they were actually allowed to say the complete thing without being cut off or redirected, um, tend to say more truth. They go deeper, they get more honest, they reach past the prepared version of what they were going to say and find the real version underneath. And the real version, not the prepared version, is what you actually need to hear. So listen, actually listen. Um, Not the kind of listening where you're composing your response while they're still talking, the kind where you're actually tracking what they're saying, the words, and the feeling underneath the words, and the thing they're reaching for that might not be perfectly articulated yet. That kind. Um, the full kind. And then before you respond, take a breath. Uh, a real one, not a dramatic pause, a genuine moment of, let me make sure I understood what was just said before I respond to it. Because misresponding to truth, reacting to what you thought they said rather than what they actually said, is one of the most common ways important conversations go sideways. Um, And this conversation is too important to go sideways because of a moment that could have been avoided with one breath. Don't perform. Um, Whatever the truth turns out to be. Don't perform your response to it. Um, don't perform being fine if you're not fine. Don't perform being unbothered if it bothers you. Don't perform certainty if you're uncertain. Don't perform the reaction you think looks best in this moment. You asked for truth, the least you can offer in return to this person and to yourself is your own, even if it comes out imperfect, even if it needs a moment to arrive, um, even if it's smaller or larger or more complicated than you expected it to be when it finally shows up in real time. Your truth in the moment without performance. That's what makes conversations like this actually change something. Not the perfect words, um, the real ones. This reflection invites you to consider, what is your truth in this situation? Not what you want from them, your truth, what you feel, what you need, what you've been carrying that they may not fully know. Um, what you would say, um, if the conversation somehow became bidirectional, if they asked you what you feel rather than just delivering what they feel, what would you say? Know it before you walk in, not to use it as an opening move, but so that your own truth is available to you when you need it, rather than having to construct it in real time while you're already managing everything else the conversation is asking of you. Now, something that needs to be addressed directly, um, because it's probably already present. You might go into this conversation with an answer you've already decided you want, a preferred truth, uh, the version of what they say that would resolve everything the way you've been hoping it resolves. And that preferred truth, however understandable, can function as a filter. one that makes you hear what you want rather than what's being said. Um, that interprets ambiguous statements in the direction of your preference. That reads hesitation as hidden yes rather than genuine uncertainty. That comes out of the conversation convinced it went one way when it actually went another. Go in without the filter, or at minimum, know the filter is there. Um, Name it to yourself before you walk in. I want to hear X. I am going to consciously try not to hear X in everything and instead hear what's actually being said. That awareness, um, even imperfect awareness, is what keeps you receiving actual truth rather than a version of it filtered through hope. Because you wanted the truth, the actual truth, not a version of it curated by your own preferences. Well, which means you have to be willing to hear it clearly, even when clearly isn't what you hoped for. And here's what else needs to be said about after, about what happens once the conversation is over and you're sitting with whatever was said. Uh, give yourself time before you decide what to do with it. Not months, but not the same hour either. The immediate aftermath of a significant conversation, uh, especially one you've been building toward for a while, is not the time to make permanent decisions. The emotional system is too activated, too flooded with the residue of what just happened to think clearly about what comes next. So hear it, um, receive it, thank them for it genuinely, regardless of what it was, um, because honesty deserves acknowledgement. And then give yourself space. Before you respond with what you're going to do, before you make any decision about what changes and what doesn't, before you commit to anything that the activated version of you might commit to differently than the settled version would. Uh, the settled version, the one that exists after the initial wave of whatever this produces, makes better decisions, and this situation deserves better decisions. This reflection invites you to consider, what will you do with the truth once you have it? Not emotionally, practically. If it's yes, what does that require of you? What changes? What becomes your responsibility to show up for? Um, if it's no, what becomes available to you that the in between was blocking? Where does the energy go? What does moving forward actually look like? Um, Not as an abstract concept, but as a concrete, daily, this is what I do next reality. Um, because knowing what you do with truth in advance of receiving it means you walk into the conversation as someone with a plan, not a rigid one, but a direction. Um, and direction going into something this significant, um, is the difference between being destabilized and being grounded. You are going to be okay. Whatever truth arrives, in whatever form, with whatever weight, uh, you are going to be okay. Not because it won't affect you, it will, but because you asked for it. And people who ask for truth, who choose knowing over the comfort of not knowing, are people with enough internal resource to handle what knowing brings. You wouldn't have asked if you weren't ready. Even if ready doesn't feel like what you thought it would feel like. Um, Even if ready looks a lot like scared. Uh, Scared and ready, for the record, are not opposites. They're the same thing wearing different clothes. The power is yours. It always has been. Go into this conversation as yourself, um, fully yourself, with your listening on and your filter down and your own truth accessible when you need it. Um, and whatever comes, receive it with the same courage it took to ask for it in the first place. You have that courage. Mm. The fact that you asked proves it. Take what resonates, softly release the rest. Trust yourself. Tell me in the comments, what truth have you been waiting to hear from someone? Not the full story, just the category, the thing you need to know. Drop it below. And are you more afraid of yes or no? Be honest with yourself first, then tell me. That's everything for today. Go into that conversation standing up. Uh, Whatever it brings, um, you asked for it, which means you can handle it. Until next time.